Other elements which come into play are obviously facilities. I spoke about that in the last Whiteboard Wednesday. Melbourne has clearly been at a competitive disadvantage when it comes to facilities in developing its players. But facilities also become fundamental to the profit model. For example, the AFL's and the MCC's new deal in relation to the MCG and returns has created great opportunities for us to build greater profit, which we can then spend on things such as the team, and that's self-explanatory. Which then leads on to the next one, which is strategic relationships. And we focus, on three critical relationships in regard to that. The first one is, the MCC and our relationship with the MCC. We were born from that particular club, and we are very proud of it, and it also becomes very important in terms of our sense of place at the MCG as our home. So rebuilding that relationship is critical. The AFL are clearly a key relationship for us, as you would reasonably expect, but also increasingly it's government relationships as we're trying to build other opportunities for ourselves. As an example, going into Olympic Park has largely been born out of a relationship with government, and that creates again terrific facilities from which our players can actually develop themselves from. We have a brand which helps us both generate our revenues. Hence, we've got support our customers who want to associate with the brand. As I mentioned, Kaspersky launched its brand on the back of the Melbourne Football Club. So those things become very, very important. We also got to invest back into our brand. The next area that we talk about obviously is our people. We need to evolve and develop our people. We need to recruit good quality people. We'd like to think that we've got a staff in and around our football club now who will be here for a long period of time. We've put a lot of resources into it, but the club over time, because its profit model's been poor, hasn't been able to invest enough in its people and had a lot of turnover of staff, and that really costs in a whole lot of critical areas. The next one here is community. And community is something which we, as I mentioned at the last Whiteboard Wednesday, we have this strong responsibility, not only in regard to our corporate responsibility to play a role in the community, but also, and just as importantly, to use it as a means by which we can develop our people, but hopefully also grow our customer base through good supported development and the like over a long period of time. And the final one is obviously just how we operate, the operations of the club. Like if our operations are poor, we lose confidence, but also we increase risk as a club. And as you know, organisations which have high risk and high business risk, high people risk, and all those sorts of things end up being far more expensive. So none of these areas are obviously mutually exclusive. They all tie together very, very closely, and there's lots of overlap in regard to those things. But how they tie together is what good strategy is actually about. So if this is the if you like, the environment of which we actually operate at any one time, what we then do is how do we hold all this stuff together? And we basically put this framework around it, deliberately a triangle because of the rigidity of the triangle. But what is it? What are the key aspects which actually hold this thing together? And the first of these, and I've talked about this last week, is what we call the creed. And for us, that's the very strong heritage elements of our club, which we want to reference all our decision making again. But we think it's also a fantastic platform from which we build our club. The next one is just purely this notion of good strategy. Strategy becomes your reference point for all of your decision making, and that again holds it all together. And the final one is just your values and your behaviours. And so, from that point of view, we want to set the highest standards ourselves as a club, because that then creates within all of these things the fantastic ethos and what we're trying to develop, culture within our club to try and build it. So that's the profit model. The combination of all of these things held together by these very strong, stable areas. We're so fortunate to have this beautiful history to come back on. And if we can create a sustainable profit model, well, that becomes then the future of our club. And the interesting thing in regard to that, it could almost be argued that we're 152 years old, but we've never had a sustainable profit model. We were under the Melbourne Cricket Club for much of our history. We separated out in 1980, and it was really even in the early 80s the club was genuinely struggling financially. And as you know, so many of the Melbourne Footy Club's issues have revolved around that, and really was very a key component consideration when the club almost merged just over 10 years ago. And reflecting on Creed, got a couple of beautiful little items here which have arrived in the last week or so. We've got the 1926 and 1939 Premiership Cups. These cups weren't actually presented in AFL football until 1959. Melbourne actually won the first one in 59 with John Beckwith as captain. So the club's going back now and getting hold of our original 9 premiership cups, and these two are, I think, particularly significant. 1926, Albert Chadwick captain coached the club, and he becomes Sir Albert Chadwick, president of the club. Melbourne Football Club, also later the Melbourne Cricket Club, becomes one of the great sporting administrators and great people in the sport, all very much from our club's heritage. And we've got the 39 Premiership Cup, which was the first of the war year premierships. We obviously won 39, 40 and 41, but it was a game where a number of players who represented the club played and were later to lose their lives in war, including, of course, Ron Brassey's father, Ron Senior. This is all very much, we're so fortunate to have this beautiful history for which we build our football club on. So even when we talk on the structures and the science of building great football clubs, this is very much our reference point. Thanks very much.